Alright guys, welcome back to another game devlog. In this video so far, I have cleaned up the generation a little bit. So now, as you can see, when I spawn in a room, it looks a little cleaner. Obviously it's not perfect because there's walls inside the rooms, but now you can definitely see a difference in the inside of the room versus the outside of the room. Like, there's no ugly grid on the outside, and plus, because of this, generating the room itself has become a lot faster, a lot more optimized. Not as much has to be spawned, and so it works a little better. So now I just need to actually make it so the walls spawn correctly, and I will be good with that part. Alright, I spent some time updating the algorithm for generating maps, and as you can see here, now we have different cutouts for the walls. It all looks fine, and you can actually see a path that you might be able to take to get from one place to another. So let's say the player starts right here in this room. He can travel left, he can go up, and then he has the option of going either left or right. So if we just travel along it, we might reach a dead end, or we could come over here and we could keep going, and we get several different paths. And so now it creates this kind of grid-like structure of where you can go. On top of that, as you might have noticed, when I create this kind of structure, there is a lot of clumping of everything. So one room will usually be next to a bunch of other rooms. And this is due to the fact that I wasn't really checking before whether or not each room had a neighbor or not when it came to weighting things. So in my floor plan, I added 2 more weights, one for 2 neighbors and one for 3 neighbors. And using these, I can adjust how often it will clump next to each other. So in this case, I have it set so that if the path 2 neighbors will give a high weight. So if I set this to 0, that means it will never try and create a room if it'll have neighbors. And if I look at this, you'll notice, well, that looks weird. It's just going diagonally. And that's simply because a parameter I changed was forward, set that to 0. That means that it'll never move forward. So if I set that to 250, come up here, replace it, and run this, now you'll see it has a nice structure. It looks like it's zigzagging. It did apparently create some neighbors here, but for the most part it did not. It's just one continuous line. I might need to adjust a couple numbers here, or maybe it has to do with the fact that this is set to 250, so I'd want to change that to 0 as well. And that's probably what was going on here. But other than that, it looks really good, and so I'm going to keep it. And now I'm going to start working on, so I got a kind of pattern that I think I'm happy with, at least the generation system. So here you can see that the path kind of looks a little windier, more straight paths. I also made the gaps have a chance of being a little wider than normal. So instead of just everything being one gap or two, just one gap for a path, the rooms can, for one, be bigger like this. They can also have gaps of 2. And so that makes the world feel a little more open. However, I was working on the tile system for tiling the walls, and a lot of it works, but as you can see, there's a lot of cases that seem to be broken right now, so I'm gonna have to go through and figure out what's causing that. It just seems to be some of the intersections for some reason, but it's looking pretty good. Another thing I'm gonna have to fix is the tiles seem to be very blurry, which I'm not 100% sure why. I checked already, and I shouldn't have. If I go to quality here, the anti-aliasing is disabled, which I expected that to be the reason, but it's not. So I'm not the most familiar with sprites when it comes to Unity, so I'm gonna have to look into that and figure out what could be causing it to be blurry. So I got it so that the walls now generate properly. So the only problem with that was when I was checking, like if I was on this cell and I was checking to see which neighbors it was next to, like what directions it was next to, the Y positions were actually inverted. Because I'm used to working with GameMaker, I keep assuming that up is the negative direction and down is positive, and in Unity it's not like that. So when I was actually applying the sprites for it, I still had the coordinates flipped, so it was just flipping which sprite it should have been using. So that is all fixed now. As well as that, as you can see, the sprites now render properly, they aren't blurred. The problem is I have two sprites here. This one is the tile set, and this is the sprite that actually gets used in the drawing of the walls. And I had set the tile set to run on a filter mode of point, which is what you should use for 2D images. But for this sprite right here, I had forgotten to set this to point, so it was still on bilinear, which was causing it to blur itself out. But other than that, I now have a pretty good working dungeon generator. The next step is to probably just clean up some of the walls and make it so that they generate a little better. I'll just add in a couple details like staircases and doors, perhaps, if I get to that now. Hopefully I will though. Alright, so I think I got some styles that I think work pretty well. So I've added in stairs to the whole program, so if I run this, you'll see that I can zoom in, and here you'll see that there's stairs. There's a small chance between each wall connection that a set of stairs will spawn instead of the normal walls connection like this. And so I think it looks really good. As well as that, when stairs are spawned, it'll spawn these objects instead, which is simply, I don't know why, oh, did not make that, which is simply a different wall object that goes with the stairs, and it looks fine, I think. So as well as that, I have added in two new parameters into the floor plan. The first one being the combined room odds, which is set to 0.2 right now, which simply says that there's a 20% chance that it will demolish an entire wall. And so you can see that's done here. It's done all throughout here to create this effect that they are just one big room, and here as well. So that's that. The other parameter is the connect via stairs, which is set to 0.5, which means of the remaining walls, it has a chance of, instead of demolishing it, it will spawn in stairs. So you can see that being done about 2 times here, 3 times, because there's one down there. And I think that looks fine. Obviously, you'll notice that it doesn't ever work horizontally. That's because I don't have the sprite for a horizontal stairs case. So it'll only ever spawn vertically, not horizontally. But I think other than that, it still looks pretty good. I like the way that the rooms are generated. I'm not sure if I want to keep single stairs as an option, because they do look a little odd going like this, but I think it will be fine the way it is. I think, yeah, having it that way should be fine, I think. So that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe the video, and until next time, see ya!